Welcome to this crash course on HTML and CSS. In this course, we'll start with HTML, the language that gives structure to every web page. From headings and paragraphs to images and links, HTML is the foundation of the web. Next, we'll move on to CSS. CSS is what makes websites look good. It adds color, spacing, layouts, and even animations. By the end of this course, you'll have built a cleaner, more modern version of YouTube using just HTML and CSS. To start coding, you only need two things: a code editor to write your code, and a browser to see your project in action. We'll use Visual Studio Code as our code editor. It's beginner-friendly, powerful, and one of the most popular editors available. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the series. And if you enjoy this content, like the video, leave a comment, and share it with your friends. Now, let's dive in and start building the web together. To install VS Code, open your browser and go to visualstudio.com/download. I'll also leave the link in the description below. Click on Download, and you'll see options based on your operating system. Since I'm using Windows, I'll download the Windows version. Once the download is complete, double-click the installer. Accept the agreement by checking I accept the agreement, then click Next. Now it's asking where you want to install it. You can choose a specific folder or just click Next like I did. Click Next again. You can choose to create a desktop icon if you want, or just click Next. Now click Install to begin the installation. Once it's finished, click Finish. Then open Visual Studio Code and you're ready to write your very first HTML code. This is the Visual Studio Code welcome page. You can ignore it for now. Click on the folder icon to create or select an empty folder where you want your project to live. Then click Open Folder. You can either create a new folder or choose an existing empty one. If you're creating a new one, give it any name you like. Then click Select Folder. Now let's create an HTML file. Think of an HTML file like a digital notepad, but instead of writing in English or Spanish, you're writing in HTML, which is the language web browsers understand. Click on the New File icon and give your file a name. You can name it anything you want, like Home, App, John, or Ana. However, the standard name for the main HTML file is index.html. That's because it's the default file web servers look for when loading a website. The word index is just the name of the file, and .html is the file extension. It tells the computer that this is an HTML file, which stands for hypertext markup language. Once you've named the file, let's move on. We're going to start with something called an HTML template. This is the basic structure of every web page. It tells the browser how to read and display the content. It includes key elements like the language of the page, the title you see in the Browser tab, and the layout. Without this structure, the browser wouldn't know how to properly show your web page. Let's start writing our HTML file from the top. First, type, opening angle bracket, exclamation mark, DOCTYPE in all caps, HTML, then closing angle bracket. This line is called the DOCTYPE declaration, and it always goes at the very top of an HTML file. It tells the browser that this page is written in HTML5, which is the latest version of HTML. This helps the browser know how to correctly display your web page. Now, right below it, type opening angle bracket, HTML, then add lang equals double quotes en, and then closing angle bracket. This is the opening HTML tag, and it marks the beginning of your HTML content. The lang equals double quotes en part sets the language of your page to English, which helps browsers and search engines understand the content better. Next, inside the HTML tag, type opening angle bracket, head, closing angle bracket. The head tag contains information about the web page that isn't shown directly on the screen. This includes things like the page title, the character encoding, links to style sheets, and other metadata. The head section always comes before the body section. Now inside the head tag, let's add opening angle bracket, meta space, charset equals double quotes, UTF-8, then closing angle bracket. This meta charset equals double quotes, UTF-8 tag tells the browser which character set to use. UTF-8 is the most widely used encoding, and it supports almost all letters and symbols from around the world. This ensures your text shows up correctly, even if it includes special characters or other languages. Right below that, let's add a title tag. Type, opening angle bracket, title, closing angle bracket, then closing title tag. This sets the title of your page, the one you see on the Browser tab. Now, right after the head section, let's add the body tag. Type, opening angle bracket, body, closing angle bracket. The body tag contains everything you actually see on the web page, like text, images, buttons, and links. It's the main content area of your site, and it always comes after the head section. Now, let's go back to our title tag and give our web page a title. You can name it anything you like, but I'll go with HTML tutorial. Now back in the body section, let's add a heading using the H1 tag. Type, opening angle bracket, H1, closing angle bracket. Then write Hello World, and then opening angle bracket, slash H1, closing angle bracket. This is called an H1 tag, and it's used to define the main heading of your web page. Headings help organize your content and tell both the browser and the user what's most important on the page. The text Hello World is a classic example. It's often the first thing people display when learning a new programming language or technology. In this case, it will appear in big, bold text at the top of your web page. Now it's time to view our little website in the browser as we build it. As I mentioned earlier, when building an HTML website, you can run it directly in the browser. But to make things easier, we'll install a tool that opens the HTML file in the browser with a single click and shows real-time changes as we build. That tool is called the Live Server extension. To install it, click on the extensions icon. It looks like multiple boxes stacked on top of each other. Then in the search bar, type Live Server. Click on it and then click Install. Once it's done, you can close that tab. Now, whenever you make changes to your HTML file, remember to save your file. To do that, press Ctrl+S on your keyboard. Then right-click on your HTML file and choose Open with Live Server. Congratulations! You've just displayed your first Hello World. Now let's put the browser and the code editor side by side so we can see our updates as we go. If you don't see Hello World right away, simply refresh the browser. And finally, if you look at the tab bar of your website, you'll see your title. Great job! And that wraps up our first lesson in this full HTML course. We began by understanding what HTML is and why it's so important for building websites. We installed Visual Studio Code, set up our project folder, and created our first HTML file. Then we learned how to write a basic HTML template, set a page title, and display a simple Hello World using the H1 tag. Finally, we installed the Live Server extension, which lets us see our web page live in the browser as we build it. You've just taken your first big step toward becoming a web developer. Amazing work! In the next lesson, we're going to dive deeper into HTML tags, explore how attributes work, and learn how to properly structure your web page to keep your code clean and easy to read. So stay tuned. This is just the beginning. See you in the next lesson.